Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto Anime episode review. This one's going to be for episode 56, which is called Rivals Gather. And yeah, this episode had a good few kind of newer scenes. They sort of extended the first exam from the movie, made a much bigger deal out of the meeting of all of the different genin who are participating in the tuning exams this time out. In terms of, I don't think like Shinki's rivalry with Boruto or like just any sort of like, it's notable that these two are both in like similar positions and like interactions was really at all touched on in the movie or even the manga. The manga might have touched on it a little bit more, but if it really felt like they're kind of meant to set those two up as a rivalry, but the movie isn't really where it fully comes to a kind of fruition. Getting into it, it's a fairly, I think, self-explanatory episode. It's the setup in the first stage of the tuning exams, and it's meant to get Boruto into a position where, like, he's through, but he isn't very happy with how he responded to the first exam, and he's really questioning, because he already is thinking about using the ninja tool if he has to. And now all of a sudden here's a situation where he kind of gave up. But before that, it really is all about the introduction of all of the different teams of genin from the different nations. You know, we get a nice scene with the Mizukage presenting like to Boruto stuff from Kagura that like become a tuning like me. That was a nice little update, keeping the continuity of what's happened up to now. That made complete sense as a scene to use. Then we get introduced to the team of triplets, I suppose, from his village, and just establishing that they're skilled, they're notable, and that's really about it. We get the team from the Stone Village, where we kind of set them up as like the rival of Denki and Iwabe's team. Iwabe seems to think they have something special, but they turn out to actually be like the first team to get, one of the first teams to get eliminated, and that was pretty fun. In that they probably had some crazy jutsu, but you know they clearly weren't ready for the exams, and they got taken out quite quickly. And then Shinki's team, I suppose, gets a little bit more focus of just how kind of calm, cool, collected he is, not wanting any fights to start beforehand. And for sure they're setting up the Yurui, I think it is, Y-U or U-I, the bubblegum guy, as like, yeah, he's the big kind of antagonist right now. Boruto's really going to want to take this guy out and fight him, and that'll be a big kind of a testing moment of like, can he beat that guy on his own, or will he have to resort to using these other powers and so on. As for the first exam itself, they basically kept it the same, but added in okay, the exam's actually going to take place over here, go through this forest, avoid all these traps and so on, and if you make it, then you can do the true or false question. I thought that was a nice little thing of just to add a bit of action to this without extending it out too much, and that I don't think they needed to have like a 10 episode, 5 episode like Forest of Death type sequence here for the first stage of the exam. That was fine for then, but you know, with this one, the core is the question at the end, not as such this. So I like that most of the teams got through it without actually having to use their jutsus. It was pretty much just avoiding the obvious traps, getting past Tenten's machines using their just kind of raw skill, and that being like the thing that kind of impresses them. And yeah, just Denki's and Iwabe's kind of mistakenly over-exaggerating how strong the Stone team is, and their Kage not being very happy about it at all, which was quite good. Getting to see Kuratsuchi, I think that's her name. I keep for some reason just forgetting the names of all the Kage at this point. But her, you know, bringing her personality back, so she's kind of cooler, calmer as the Kage, but Tsuchikage, but she still has that personality of kind of getting frustrated with people and expecting a lot of them, and just saying that she's going to start their training all over again because of how badly they failed there. I did really want to see what their jutsu was, because it was this like triple jutsu. They were all doing the exact same thing. They added a number onto it. It seemed like it was going to be this crazy. The word black was in there something, so it was like, it felt like it was going to be some crazy, like, they just zoom through the entire forest like unstoppable, but they trip over a branch and they're out. Other than that, it's all about getting to the question from Sai of like, this quote, is it from this fifth book? I knew more or less from the context of what everyone says. This book doesn't actually exist, so no one actually knows the answer. So they basically are forcing everyone to guess. And then the true test of this part of the exam is just, when you're falling, you think you failed. Do you have enough, I suppose it's sort of a reaction test as well as a will you give up, in that, like Sarada did, she immediately like looked around and noticed that, oh, I can see the other team's falling. So the test isn't about the question, the test is about sort of not hitting the bottom. That's the obvious thing with what Sai said about not anyone who doesn't like get, what the wording on it, I can't remember the exact wording, but like, if you don't have any black on you, you'll pass the test. And Sarada knows what to do immediately, Mitsuki does, but you sort of get this idea of like Boruto as he's falling, thinking he's failed, and the idea that he more or less gives up. If not for Sarada and Mitsuki, he would have been out of the competition, the tuning exam, immediately. And especially with what Sai kind of explains afterwards of just like, when you were falling, did you give up or did you refuse to give up? And Boruto seemed to be the give up, whereas like Naruto represents the refuse to give up. And that's a big part of the arc of like Boruto understanding the meaning of the other side of that and getting to that point. That said, I think it's more of a factor of all of the other stuff Boruto is going through that makes it such a big thing for him, in that so many of the other teams, I think, relied on one or two of the members of their team to, survive this, in that Shikadai saved his whole team, and it didn't seem like Chocho or Inojin really did anything. The Bubble Guy clearly saved his whole team, and it's not like his teammates really did anything. Similarly, Shinki saved his whole team, and I think Sumire saved her team. That, for the most part, it was the case of like one member of each team really catching on to what the exam was about and saving the whole team. And it was more of a case of the full team that didn't give up was the main problem. But Boruto's kind of taking this one more personally because, Sarada saved him and Mitsuki saved Sarada, so, he was the only one who didn't really do anything here, so he's very eager to prove himself in the next stage of the exam. But still doesn't take off the ninja tool. It's still there because he's getting to that point now where he's almost thinking of like, I just need the success regardless of how I get there, when it's more about, working hard so that you yourself get there, and it's not just the special pieces of technology that you have that get you there. It's a very to the point episode. I don't think there's really much like complexities to discuss here. It's pretty basic in terms of just, it was the first exam and it was meeting some of the rivals. They definitely didn't emphasize it as being like as important as like, say, the introduction of so many characters in original Naruto, in that it's like really like it's Shinki is like the main one. I don't think Yoroi, like it doesn't feel like he's going to be someone who like constantly comes back. I think that's more of just to set up a little rivalry for this arc, and that's really about it. That it was just Shinki's team feels like the very important one, and then we may see some of the other characters along the way. In a similar way to the fact that like from original Naruto, Gaara's team was the only one who kind of in a way really kind of continued on and was a focus. And I think that's most of what I have to say. You get the scene, of course, of Naruto kind of sending the email to Boruto, congratulating him for passing the first stage of the exam. and you really seeing how eager he is to impress Naruto. He initially goes to delete it by like saying like, oh, he didn't even come to see me in person, didn't even send a shadow clone, he just sent me an email. But he saves it, and I think that's very telling of just he wants the praise, and he actually does want to impress Naruto, even if he sort of, I think, was initially going like, oh, I don't really care about the Chunin exams, like I don't feel the need to impress him, but now he does, and it's setting up a really strong arc of like just the disappointment from Naruto when it's revealed that Boruto is actually like cheating, and where that leaves him as a character, and the entire build up to it. So yeah, we're next episode we're heading into the second stages of the Chunin exams. I assume this will probably get like maybe the next 2 episodes at least, because like they skip past the second exam fairly quickly as well. It was more like a montage type thing. I assume they'll still want to keep the general pace of the movie going, in that they're not lingering on the different stages of the exams too much, because the focus is kind of the fact that the exam gets interrupted more so than the exam itself. And it's not really meant to be a case where like anyone is particularly like crazy impressive in the exams. But that's going to be interesting to see just how far they do go with it. Based on what they do show, it seems like at the very least we're going to get most, actually, potentially, of what we did get in the movie. But I think they may do a little bit more if they want to show off potentially like more of the teams and what they're up to, and that. I believe this is the round where like kind of Metal Lee's team kind of gets eliminated. I think we see him get taken out in the movie. So focusing on like some of those other teams who maybe like some of our well-known teams having to get eliminated. Maybe Sumere's team goes out at this point, and potentially like Denki, Iwabe, and Metal Lee get taken out. That'll be the big interesting thing, just how much they go into. Because as much as I can see the benefit of them doing a really, really in-depth Chunin exam arc, I think what they need to potentially extend out is more of the Otsutsuki stuff going on right now, more so than anything else. That the stuff like with the fact that we still have Urashiki here, we are going to have to go into a little bit more depth after the stuff that the movie doesn't cover with regards to where Boruto's going afterwards. That's where I think it's really important to extend it out. Not as much, I think, just showing all of these Chunin exam fights in the same level as like the Naruto Chunin exam arc was. But yeah, another solid episode. I think the adaptation is going very well. I think you can tell that they're sort of saving the big animation stuff for the bigger fights, which are coming, of course, in a couple of episodes. But yeah, it's been good so far. I like the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.